Wonderful Wednesday, world. Hopefully everybody is super great and getting better. I pray that all is well with you and your family. Welcome to the podcast, the Corey Webster Experience. I am your host, Corey Webster. I am C Web on all social platforms. Thanks for tuning in, locking into the channel. Hopefully we've been, giving you a perspective on things like no other, or just from a different angle, and you're able to, hang your hat on some of the things that we are giving, that we're putting down, that we're dropping. We haven't talked about the men's Final Four. We haven't talked about the NCAA men's championship. Congratulations to Florida Gators, SEC. And we're going to dive into it. Also, some NBA coaches were fired. Well, one, Denver Nuggets parted ways with their coach, Michael Malone, as well as their general manager. Crazy timing because it's right at the last week of the regular season, and Denver is in a bit of a situation here. They can actually be third, maybe 4 or 7, depending on, how this thing shake up here. So that's very interesting to see that, they parted ways with him. I think he's been there for 10 years or 10 plus years. But they part ways with him at this crucial time right here where they're trying to finish strong. And with that being said, finish strong, you had a whole topic about finishing strong. But let's dive into the NCAA a little bit, Did your team win or your bracket been busted? I know we talked about bracket busted. Nobody bracket won. So did you at least pick Florida Gators to win it all?
I did not.
Thanks for being honest. I don't know if I'm just messing. That's awesome. I picked Florida to get to the championship, but I picked Duke beating them, and that didn't happen. So that's a message out there for everybody. We go to, the Final Four game. Duke, Houston. I think it was a great matchup. I think it was a very great game. Houston had, to come back from behind. I think they was down by maybe 10 plus, maybe 14, if I'm not mistaken. And looked like Duke was sitting in the driver's seat and they was going to, finish strong and cruise past. But for everybody out there, when there's time still on the clock, you still have a chance. If sports have any type of replication of life, if you still have time and you're breathing, that's a blessing. And you can fix and change and make adjustments as needed. And we saw Houston do that. They stuck to the game plan. And for most of the game, they was behind, but they never got out of it. They kept fighting, kept doing and playing Houston ball. And they was able to claw their way back into it and give themselves an opportunity at about 32 seconds left on the clock. They was down by 6, if I'm not mistaken. And it looked like Duke did some very immature young things that they hadn't done all season. After a missed layup, a turnover, not being able to inbounds the ball, not being able to finish the game, like we always say with layups and free throws, they miss, free throw. They left the door open for Houston, and Houston capitalized off it. So from being down 6 points, Houston, with 32 seconds left, they was up by 1 with 2 seconds left. And this is, again, this is a sports thing. So I will say this. Cooper Flag, you have to understand, and not that you don't have, Coach talked about, Coach Shaver from Duke talked about having a lot of mental health there. That was big what they kind of rest they had on this year. So, but that young man was able to take 3 game-winning shots, opportunities, and they ended up losing all of those times. But I want him to understand that, hey, this is a testament to how you are. Those last 3 shots doesn't define you. It doesn't define your career. You got to look at it as, I was blessed to be in that situation, to have the opportunity to put my team ahead. And although I fell up short, that doesn't mean that defined me. You know what I mean? Man, he laid it all on the line, man. He had 27 plus points, I want to say. He had, 5 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists. So, he played a very great game, you know what I mean? But it just came down to, the end, and they didn't finish strong and didn't take care of little things. This was the first time this year, maybe, that I saw some immature or the lack of experience from Duke. You know what I mean? I always like to say, man, the inbounds should be an easy task. And they didn't, fare well on that last a couple of inbound plays. And as well as going to the free throw line, making your free throw, miss a free throw, then, Cooper Flagg picking up the foul to send Houston to the line. And ultimately, man, shout out to Houston. You know what I mean? From fighting from behind, 14 points, 6 points toward the end of the game and able to pull out the win. So shout out to Coach Sampson and his Houston Cougars on advancing and playing in the championship game. And on the other side, I think I said this. I mentioned this maybe a time or two ago, that the new Cinderellas are going to be the individuals that maybe wasn't highly recruited, that maybe went to a school prior to the school that they're at right now, with the transfer portal being wide open. And I think Florida had a bit of that, you know what I mean, with Clayton Jr., with a couple of their players, you know what I mean, that transferred in from other university, wasn't, the typical 5-star, 4-star athletes that's going straight out of high schools to these Power 5 schools. So I think they are showing a bit of, resilience, right? Consistent improvement in how their career has gone thus far and how they was able to stick to it, continue to work on their game, and they found themselves in a great place. So that was great for Florida to overcome, I guess, a well-familiar team. Auburn, Florida, SEC, two teams that know each other very well. Looked like Auburn always came up a little short too in certain games that had a lot of meaningful intentions on the line. You know what I mean? Whether they made a silly play here or there, technical foul, or not having everybody available to play. And I'm not talking about from injuries, but from maybe an emotional, intelligent letdown. But look, we're not gonna harp on it. It was Duke, Florida. I'm sorry. I apologize. It was Houston, Florida in the championship game down in San Antonio. And ultimately, Florida came back, I think, 4 or 5 times in this tournament. Would have to fight their way back. I think 2 times previous, it was 10 plus points. And it was no different in this game right here. Houston had them down, and them guys just kept playing, kept chipping away. Even when one of their teammates, one of their brothers, had just a little bit of emotions that kind of overwhelmed him and got a technical foul by slamming the ball going above the head. That's the rule. So if you're out there, any young kid, if you slam the ball and you don't catch it, because you're frustrated with a call that maybe the referee or what's going on in the game, if you slam it and that ball go above your head, that's a technical foul. So one of the Florida players ended up getting a technical foul. Guys came in, you didn't see any, it was mindful communication. You didn't see any pointing the fingers or any letdowns. Guys came in and said, we got you. Talk to him. Know that you can't do this right now at this moment. And it was able to overcome that, and still come out with the victory. So shout out to Florida, man. Florida the one, looking like a very good, not only, people say the South football school, but Florida been in the championship a number of times. I don't know exactly how many they have right now, but congratulations on winning the 2025 championship, Florida. It'll be, very interesting to see, what this brings to not only Florida, but to the SEC, because man, this year right here, SEC had 14 teams alone that was in the tournament. Only 2 teams wasn't in the tournament. And this is your job to go look up and see who were the 2 teams that didn't make the SEC tournament. The NCAA tournament this year from the SEC. Why you laughing? Ain't none of this funny.
Because that's easy.
That's easy. I don't know about that being easy. But shout out to Florida. How many championships Florida have?
I'm looking for what they have. It says 2.
No, they won back to back.
It's the third one.
I'm going to say they won back to back.
They won back to back in 06 and
I
07
think with Joakim Noah, with Al Harford.
under Billy Donovan.
Yeah, Billy Donovan, was the head coach at the time. Brewer was the tall guy that was kind of a guard / So
3 national championships total.
yeah, man, and the guy, I think he's the youngest to ever win it, if I'm not mistaken.
He's
The coach from this
39
year,
years old.
30 what?
Florida's coach is 39.
Yeah, 39. Yep. And I'm happy for him. Congratulations to Florida, but I kind of wanted Kelvin Sampson. The Florida, he's been around basketball a long time. Houston coach, I'm sorry. He's been around basketball a long time, and I know that's just not a reason, that you're going to win it. Like, you still have to play the game. And I want to say this, too, for anybody out there, man, that like to talk about, because they have some people that have a theory that all these games are fixed. Especially with all the betting and how they promoting the betting now. Man, we had some really great games, right? We had some really great games this tournament. And not that we didn't have great games other tournament, but I just think that, the way folks was winning the game, like, you couldn't really predict this. You couldn't really plan this. Even when it comes down to football, a lot of people always talk about Kansas City, the Chiefs having the NFL gods on their side because somehow, some way, they always get every little call that they need to get them over the hump, whether it's a pass interference, whether it's a offside. Something happens, and everybody talk about how, I think, this tournament, men and women, I think it was a bit of chaotic, but a level of, I guess, commitment to staying the course and, persevering. That, come on, we can't say these games are fixed. These guys are laying their heart out. They're putting their all into it in the offseason, and we seeing that, kind of flow out throughout the tournament. I think that's a testament to the coaches, also to the individual players and everybody surrounding those organizations of how much hard work they put in. That's awesome. Any final thoughts on that before you move on? I know you like to move on. You don't like to play with it. Pause.
No, just congratulations to the Gators.
Yep. And, with the Gators finishing strong, because that's what they did, right? Things wasn't looking, just as bright as some may see it. They stayed the course. So I know you talked about a lot of people in the final semester or final grading period of school. A lot of people are testing, when it comes to, being able to test out of that grade. In Louisiana, they got the LEAP test, all these standardized tests that helps you get to the next grade or not. Didn't you have some stuff on that? I know you want to talk about, because you had a friend that we just did a video for about finishing strong and things of that nature.
Yes. What does finishing strong mean to you in the final quarter or semester of school?
School, well, if we're talking about student athlete, it's, the complete, the holistic individual. If you're a student athlete and you are in that last semester or just your final semester before you get a break, you want to make sure you finish so you can be inspired to get better going into the next phase of your life. So for me, it was important to raise your level of being a student in the classroom. Just how we talk about on the athletic surface, we say, hey, start fast, finish faster. We say start strong, finish stronger. So, just like Florida, sometimes it does, and it doesn't matter how you start, but it does matter how you finish, because that momentum is going to carry over into your next semester, as well as whatever you have going on, if it's secondary, or if it's a combination when it comes to student athlete. So if you want to be a great athlete, you have to get that student part right. So if I want to be, superior on the field or on the court or on a diamond, I have to start using my student part of it to lock in and to focus. And if I do that in the classrooms, that's going to carry over to my respective field. That's going to carry over into summer workout, spring ball. So as a student athlete, you want to be doing that, right? So you can continue to progress and get better. As a student, if you're a student half and then you work half, right? If you become a better student and I'm, organized in the classroom and I got my schedule together as far as when I study and have good study habits, or I'm practicing good study habits, then that's going to, again, flow over to my work side. If I have an internship, whether I'm getting paid to work or not, right? So I want to make sure that I'm fully focused on being a better version of myself. Doesn't matter what classification, doesn't matter whether it's work, whether it's class, it doesn't matter. I want to be a better version of myself. And I have to understand that with me doing that and having that approach, that mindset, it's going to flow over in other areas of my life and I'm going to benefit from it, especially if it's positive. And vice versa, if I have a negative approach, it's going to affect me that way as well. So we want to just make sure that it's positive.
Okay, nice. What are some practical ways to block out distractions, social media, parties, burnout, to stay locked in?
I think having a great routine can help some of that. I think also being mindful and aware can help with that. So when we say mindful and aware, smartphones now tell you the time that you are spending on those devices. So I want to make sure that I'm using those devices to enhance whatever it is that I have going on. If I have a smartphone, I need to make sure that I got a schedule on that phone, right? So I'm using that smartphone to do smart things. I don't just want to call it a smartphone, but I'm not using it to do smart things. Make sure I'm utilizing the schedule. Make sure I'm utilizing the apps on there that are beneficial to me. They have reading apps that you can set goals to read X, Y, and Z amount of time a day, right? You have financial apps on there that I can use and check off by understanding and learning, financial literacy a certain amount of time a day. I don't only want to use the phone or those apps for entertainment. So, a lot of times they tell college students that time management is the biggest thing. Well, now you have to start to manage that time, not only in the physical, but also when it comes to the devices that you have on. So blocking out those distractions would be, giving yourself a certain allotted time to be on those devices, as well as with socializing. You have to have a good balance. When we were athletes, I'm still an athlete, but when I was in school, I would say, they used to say you can only do 2 of the 3 things that you love to do, right? School, ball, socialize, or social life. And they said, pick 2, and the other one is going to be sparingly that you're going to get to do it, all right? So it's kind of the same thing. But now social life has become a device that we put in our hand, or a computer that we sit in front of, or a tablet, or, something with a battery that you got to charge every day, you know what I mean? So you have to be mindful of those distractions, you know what I mean? And even friends, I would always say you have to be around like-minded individuals that are maybe not doing the exact same thing that you are. They could be in a different field, but the mindset is of being responsible, being each other's accountability partner. I'm not going to pull you away from something that may be beneficial to you just because I want you to do something that may be detrimental to you. You heard that? A friend shouldn't pull you away from something that may be beneficial to you to do something that may be detrimental to you. Now you say, what can be detrimental? If you have to get up and work out 2 or 3 times a day, well, a friend shouldn't have you hanging out every day, late at night, not getting your rest. Vice versa, whether you're a sports person or not, a friend shouldn't have you drinking and, not putting positive things in your body that's gonna, in the long run harm you. Accountability partner, you know what I mean? A friend should be an asset to you. It should be somebody that brings value to you, not take value away from you, not be a liability. So those distractions, sometimes they be plain in sight. Sometimes they could come in, different forms. And just as the medicine, sometimes, medicine can come to you in a form of medicine, and sometimes it can be wrapped in a form of candy. But you got to be mindful of that. You know what I mean? Everything in moderation, everything balanced. You know what I mean? Some people, the great people around you can wrap up something that can help you in a candy type wrapper, but it's medicine to you. Vice versa. You know what I mean? People can act like it's medicine to you, but it's candy. You know what I mean? And, with candy, you get cavities and you get, sugar and all that. You know what I mean? So you got to be mindful and be aware of yourself first before you can just let anybody put any kind of decisions or pressure on you to make decisions that may harm you later on in life.
Alrighty, and from an athlete standpoint, how do comebacks in sports inspire comebacks in life? And can you recall a game or moment that motivated you?
Sports has a awesome way of being a reflection of real life. You know what I mean? I know it happens in a 2-3 hour span. We're talking about sports, but I love that, the many lessons that you can learn from sports. You can learn them in everyday life if you understand and apply them. So we talked about Florida. We talked about them being down to Houston, a defensive paralysis of a team, right? But still sticking to their plan, not getting away from what they do best and how they play the game. And they was able to execute their plan. So sometimes in life, it's going to be the same. You have a plan, right? And you see that plan going this way. But when you ultimately tap into a higher power, you understand that his plan is always going to be greater than your plan, right? And you may have this perfect line of how everything going to go, but most of the time it's some obstacles that you have to navigate through to still get to that final result. And the things that you navigate through, it builds character, it builds integrity, and it builds a person of perseverance, because now you can go through stuff and still come out on the other side of it. So when things doesn't go as planned outside of sports in everyday life, still praise and give God the glory for those. I think another sports figure that talked about that just recent was Van Lit. You know what I mean? We have to praise him for those, dark moments as well, because it's actually building us and becoming the person that we want to become. All we got to do is keep going forward, and also, give thanks for those times. So just like sports, win, lose, or draw. Yes, we want to win them all, but win, lose, or draw is a lesson to be learned in them. Same way in life, when these things happen to us, it's a lesson to be learned. So find that lesson so it doesn't happen to you multiple times. And then be a person that's willing to share so other individuals can learn from your maybe pitfalls or your shortcomings, so they maybe don't have to go through them, or they can make a transition that's a little more seamless than, the one that we have made.
All right, and as far as support systems, how do you balance encouraging your child to finish strong without adding pressure that creates burnout?
Well, I always tell mine, hey, I'm going to love you whether you play sports or don't play sports. You know what I mean? I want you to do your best in all that you have going on. You know what I mean? We talk about being a student. We talked about being an athlete. We talked about being just a productive citizen in society. And no reward is greater than the next one. Meaning, you being a great young man and being a productive citizen in society, some may not deem that as being something that's colossal. But I think as a father, man, having a kid that does the right thing, that stays out the way, that, is interested in the things that they're interested in, that too should be celebrated. And I think as your support system, you celebrate those victories and you celebrate them in a way where, not for social media or for the media, but you celebrate it to where that individual feels that impact and they know that they're loved. No different than you would celebrate the victories or the milestone that you cross in sports. So for any parent, man, if, when somebody tell me, man, I love the fact that your son opened the door for a young lady. Well, I'm going to celebrate that just as much as I'm going to celebrate a win in a basketball game, you know what I mean? Or a championship that they're going to be equally celebrated, because I do care for you to be a young gentleman, and I care that you be a productive citizen here. So for those support systems out there, know that it's small victories that mean so much. And we don't want to miss those small victories just by, celebrating only the large victories. Oh, you graduated, so we celebrate that. But we sometimes forget to celebrate some of the little things that got us to that point. So I would just say that celebrate the small victories just as much as we celebrate the larger ones.
Okay, thank you for that. And for life transitions, how can finishing one chapter well set you up for success for the next one?
Well, transitioning is something that's tough. A butterfly goes into transition, from a caterpillar, right? A toad going to transition from a toad into a frog, right? And those transitions, we have never heard, that they were easy, right? So embrace that transition. Embrace the being uncomfortable in order to get to the next phase. But along the way, don't forget the principles and the morals and the values of the things that you did to get through that, so you can take that to the next phase. Somebody got a nice little metaphor that they do when they're talking about the $100 bill. If you're, old enough to know that before the big face blue $100 bill, they had a small face $100 bill, right? So what they were saying about it is, when the new blue face $100 bills came out, they came out with a whole bunch of, security features in it, a whole bunch of reflective, if you turn it this way, it got something that'll illuminate on it. It didn't just have the line that went through it to say that it's real or fake. It may have, I forget the number. If you're out there, put the number of security options that they have in the new $100 bill, big face blue, than the old $100 bill. I think it might be 20 to 25, 23 different security things that they have in there. I'm saying that to say, people sometimes criticize each other for changing, right? They always talk, man, why are you changing? Are you changing? Man, you do a lot of work. So that transition phase that you're talking about, you're going to have, shedding of the old you to become the new you. In the Bible, they talk about, the old you have to die in order for the new you to live on, right? So it's the same. It's no different. You know what I mean? Being able to accept that is going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. But also knowing that because you're doing this work, everybody's not going to be around for the next phase or the next chapter or the next transition. And that's okay. It's about self-care, and the ones that accept you for being you and for working to be a better version of yourself and allow you that space, that's the individuals that you want to surround yourself with. And understand that some of these moments, it takes some isolation in order to accomplish it. So I wish everybody best of luck on those transitions. And, I want everybody to become the version of themselves that they want to become. I pray that it's a better version and it affects the world in a positive way that we all can learn something from.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And the last one, your personal reflection. What habits or routines can help someone stay disciplined and focused in the final stretch?
Writing down things, because sometimes, through the mundane of your days and your schedule, things can be missed or forgotten. What sports taught me is always doing self-evaluation And I think that happens best when you're journaling or you're writing down, because you have a starting point and an end point, and you can see where you made big leaps or you may have took a step back, but you have something like a gauge to be able to tell you, what has happened. Excuse me. So I would say definitely writing, definitely doing, even videos, you know what I mean? And you don't have to do videos just to put them out. Now, it's on you if you want to share with the world, and that's cool if you do or don't. But just having a place of understanding that I started here and I got here, or I started here and I moved here. Just see some movement, see some progression, You can run on a treadmill all day and still be in the same place. I always tell people when we talking about training and we talking about working out, and I saw this firsthand, you can be active but not progressing. And I think that's where, it hurts. The whole hamster effect. So I think having a level of accountability partner, having individuals that's going to challenge you in a positive way so you can become a better version of yourself, so you know that you're just not doing lip service. And I got a great supporting cast, not just my family, but the people that I want to surround myself with. I want them to be able to challenge me to say, hey, man, you said you was going to do this, that, and the third. But what happened to it? I'm looking for it. And not in a negative way, but just in a way where they pat you on the back. So having a routine, having a schedule, but also having tangible things that you can see your progression, I think will help you along the way in that transitional phase as far as, me being personal with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I hope you pick up any gems that you can. If not, anything that I may have said, I want to see it in the comments. I always want you to have a consistent dialogue of, this is a village. I want you to be able to share your opinion, your thoughts. Maybe I didn't get something right. Fact check me. Or maybe I left something that was open that we may need to dialogue a bit further. But for everybody that's going through that transition phase, hey, I'm proud of you for being confident enough to say that, you know what? I see myself, but I want to see something better in the future. So stick to it. It's going to get lonely sometimes. You need isolation in order to elevate, and that's okay. Know that it's okay for the old you to die in order for the new you to live, and the future you will be proud of that. Like we always say, thanks for tuning into the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you for your comments, your likes, for your shares. Let's continue to grow together and make this world a better place, and we'll see you next time.